Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for watching, and you're very welcome to come and join us at the Spirit Release Hub, where we're just going to have a little chat this week about spirit guides. This week about understanding the guides, their roles, their purposes, how to connect safely, and just bringing in that little bit of understanding, perhaps, that might not be out there of their roles and how easy it is to communicate and to connect to your spirit guides, and you don't need to be a medium to understand how to do it. At the moment, let me just add a little message about my mic. I'm just going to check my settings. That should all be. That should be better. I think this was the issue last time. Andy, if you can just acknowledge that, please. Should be okay. Should be better. Excellent. So I've got a new mic, and my Mac doesn't automatically bring it to default. So that will be the reason. And I just need to keep remembering that. Teamwork, that's what it's always about. So yeah, it's a big week that Andy and I have had in the academy. We've got to the stage where we are getting everything ready for Ithaca. We've got our training starting on the 14th of October, and we're really looking forward to that. Everything is now getting into place. The flights are booked, the Esters are got, we're all set and ready. We know when we're coming, we know what time we're landing. All we got to do is book the car and get up there and do this wonderful course. And for everybody that's coming, we're really looking forward to meeting you and going through what will be an intense 5 days, but a very enlightening. We will have fun. The work that we do is quite heavy, it's fair to say, but we do it in a light atmosphere. We do have fun doing it, and we always work in a really raised energy. So it's going to be a really good week. Really looking forward to doing that. So hi to Gabby and hi to Vicky. You've both come on and said hello. Lovely for you to join us. And for today, what we're going to be discussing, of course, is spirit guides. Now, this is one of, I guess, the most important topics, perhaps, that Andy and I would have, because without them, we can't do the work that we do. It's as simple as that. Working in psychic surgery, working holistically, working in my everyday life, doing psychic surgery for people, doing hands-on healing for people, doing the clearings, spiritual health checks, doing the teaching trance, the 21 days of White Hawk that we do, the gatekeeper. This is everything that we do is around spirit guides. So this is one of probably my most important conversations and topics to be had. This with psychic protection is the very top of my spiritual tree when it comes to having that chat. So I know that there's people on here that are mediums. I know that they're very gifted and have worked for a very long time. My understanding is not to create conflict with anybody else. If I say something that perhaps you don't deem as correct, pop the comment in. Let's bring that to light. All my experience is what I teach. All my experience is what I talk about. The examples that I give are always real life. So I'm not here to make anything up or to promote anything. It is literally, this is how I see it from 20 years of work, working in this environment. So spirit guides, I guess, what are they? Why do people connect to them? Is it safe? And would it make you a medium if you connect to them? So spirit guides. Spirit guides are entities that have a way of connecting to you, and for you to connect to them. And they're there to help you through life's challenges, help you through life's path. They could be workers. White Hawk would be a working guide. He's there to help me work. He's there to create the healing and do the healing and psychic surgery and things like that. But other guides, they're not always there for that. They are literally there to help you to walk your life's path. Sometimes where you have trials and problems on your path and you need help and assistance, sometimes those guides are there and they step forward from the circle of the team of guides to come and assist you. One of the things that I find quite a lot is that in a role of teaching and as a working medium in healing, people often come and say that life has changed and that they're going through problems. Very often what White Hawk will say to me is that they're not problems, they're tests. Life has changed because change has been requested. And now the universe has brought that to fruition because of the intention from the individual. And now what's happening is you're being tested to see whether that is the actual way you want to go and whether you're strong enough to take that next step, how you're evolving in your own path and in your own life. So these tests are there not to hold you back, but to give you confidence that you're stepping up and that you're confident in stepping away from a situation that you wanted to change. And very regularly, guides will step in at that point and give you that lift, hold your hand, help you step up, help you go up the next few steps onto a higher level. The guides that are there are not always going to come in, if you like, through trance. They're not going to come in where you can hear, where you can see. There might just be subtle signs coming in from the universe. There might be a few things that just come into your radar, into your attention span, that all of a sudden, once you're aware and once you're sensitive, you can pinpoint to the universe being able to help you, to guide you, and to help you step forward. All of this is perfectly safe. We're not talking about the dark force entities. We're not talking about discarnate spirits. We're talking about guides that are there to help you. It's perfectly safe when that happens, and they are guiding you on the way forward. I strongly believe that every single person has a team of guides around them, a team of guides that help them on their journey and help them through life's decisions and trials and tribulations. And also, they're also with you during the time of excitement. You know, one of the things I say in some of the meditations that we do is that the guides that we're working with, they've seen you cry. They stood next to you when you've been fearful, and they've also danced with you and shared tears, and they've laughed, and they've had all these emotions with you as well. So, you know, these are a group of guides that are there to simply surround you, to help you go through the next day and going forward onto your path. It's safe in this way because they're your guides. There is a natural connection to you. And if you're not looking for that communication, and then you're not opening yourself up for universal communication or spiritual communication. When you do open yourself up and you request communication, that is where you are opening your energy centers. That is where, if you like, you're opening your front door to your spirituality, and you're just letting anything come in. One of the things that we hear a lot when it comes to sort of the Ouija board, for example, is that people just say, is there anybody there? When you see seances on television in Hollywood, they say, is anybody there? You know, and if you're going to ask for anybody to come and attend, then you're going to get anybody. It's all about intention. It's all about request. So your guides aren't anyone. They're something, someone, and they can be specifically communicated with in a very, very safe environment. But like all of this work is, if you do want to create a safe environment, know what you're doing. Sit with somebody that understands what they're doing. Sit with somebody that is experienced in any issues or any problems that you may have. And very regularly, if there are any issues, then they need to be able to deal with that. They need to be able to control that and look after that immediately. So this work, I'm going to say it's fair to say that some of it can be practiced on your own, providing that you take your spiritual protection and your understanding seriously and your limitations seriously, and that you're able to put your ego to one side, because this is not work for ego. It doesn't work hand in hand with ego. And if you do that, there's very safe ways of being able to practice and to enhance your spiritual connection. I guess there's a fairly common misconception, particularly with trance mediums, particularly with people that don't understand trance, about trance mediums, is that the energy when you work in trance is very different. The energy when you work in trance is very low, very heavy. You're going down into an altered level of consciousness. Whereas when you work mentally with mental mediumship, you go up to a higher vibration. Sometimes people see that as low and high. High is good, low is bad. This is not it. It's not the Bible. This is energy, and we're low in our energy to be able to work at a different frequency, allowing a guide to come through us and to be able to take control. They are in trance, they are called the control. So in a way, it is a willful allowance of possession. You are willfully allowing an entity, an energy, spirit guide to come into your space and work through you. That is a willful possession. And trance mediums will understand that. They will understand the risks. They will understand how it works, because usually trance mediums go through a number of years of development. One of the courses that I'm running at the moment is about trance level 1 and the introduction of that. And like I say, for all of this, I can teach anybody to be a medium within an hour. It's not hard. It's not difficult in any way. In fact, it's the most natural process that we have. The difficulty is the discipline of mediumship and the discipline of trance mediumship. And that can take years. If you speak to Andy about his development and where he is now, it's because he dedicated time and invested a lot of money, a lot of time into his spiritual development to be able to have that connection with Chen the way that he does. The way that I have my connection with White Hawk and the work that I do with White Hawk, I'm very, very privileged. However, it was me that got in the car, drove an hour, 2, sometimes 3 times a week to sit in development circles, an hour's drive there, hour's drive back, and the cost and the development and the dedication of going into it and doing my own personal spiritual development at the same time. And I did that for about 11 years, solid work, week in, week out. I did that. And then I started working, or I was being asked to comment in circles and start to run circles. And that's how I got really through to teaching and working in that way. So it is a process that is easy. I'm going to go through that process, but it's something that you have to respect. So in my view, is it something that makes you a medium just by connecting to your spirit guides? Yeah, because that is the definition of a medium, somebody that connects to a spirit guide, somebody that knows how to communicate perhaps with a spirit guide or with a spirit world. Does it make you a medium of quality and understanding? No. Because if I can teach you how to communicate with your guides within an hour, that officially, I guess, makes you a medium. But to be a proper medium, you have to understand the pitfalls and processes, the discipline of the chosen sector of mediumship that you're working in. You have to understand the clairs and how they work: clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience. You have to understand all of that, and you have to be able to work with it, and you have to be able to handle any problems or issues that start coming up. At that stage, I guess that's when we start to acknowledge that somebody is a medium, not just somebody that is developing spiritually. There is a difference between the two. So a lot of this, all comes down to your connection, how you connect to yourself, how you connect to the earth, how you connect to your breath work, and then, of course, how you connect to the spirit guides. But it starts with you. Your spiritual development, working with guides, starts with you as an individual. You have to understand grounding. You have to understand about being grounded and the benefits of being grounded and how to do that. You have to understand how quickly you can ground yourself. And also, as well, understand when you're not grounded. What are the signs? What are the indicators that are coming to you to tell you that you're not grounded? Also, being ungrounded is not necessarily something that you can understand. It might be something that one of your close friends, family members, wives, husbands, partners, they're the ones that are looking out for you as well. And it might be that they notice that you're not grounded. It might be that they notice that you're not centered or closed. So this is something that is really, really important to understand. If you're going to start moving forwards, connecting with guides, learn how to ground yourself, go through the grounding meditations, understand your breath work. Your breath will help you to center yourself and will help you to then expand that breath into an energy, into your light, into your power. And then when you understand your own energy and your own spirit, it's then an easier process to understand a spirit that is connecting to you. Because if you don't understand your own frequency and your own energy, your own spirit, your own power, however you describe it, how do you truly know when an outside energy is coming in and communicating with you? So that is also one of the really big things. I do a sit in the power meditation, and I say all the time, for me, it is the most important meditation that anybody can do that is spiritually developing or even developed and working it. You can never sit with your power enough, in my view. It's a really, really important way of moving forward and learning about your own spirit. Of course, if you're going to go into grounding, you're then going to have protection. And, this is the SRA page. We're all about spiritual protection. We're all about spiritual hygiene and looking after yourself. So you have to understand, even if it's just the basics of spiritual protection and the intention that you put into that, you have to understand that. If you're opening the door to universal energy, you have to make sure that that door is protected. It could be that you're bringing your gatekeeper from the gatekeeper meditations that we do. It could be that you are already centering and connecting to a spiritual guide who has that covered anyway. But protection, grounding, these things where, in my opinion, you must put that tick in the box. They are huge. You've got to be grounded, you've got to be protected, because you open yourself up to intelligent forces. Simple as that. So protection, Andy has a wonderful 6-week course that he runs. I do the Gatekeepers chat, where I talk about psychic protection, and I talk about energies and why it's important. These are all things to help you. His workshop, my Gatekeeper chat, is all there to help you to have an understanding and move forward on your own. So it is really, really important. Lots of people work with energetic cloaks. Sometimes you hear people say, I'll put an energetic cloak over you, zip up the hood, pull it in, and that will give you spiritual protection. Sometimes people talk about a bubble of protection. That bubble is unbreakable, can't be broken, and you're inside the bubble, so therefore you're protected. Personally, the way that I work, for those that have attended my workshops will know, is that I work with circles of light. I work with a circle of light being placed around us. That circle of light can then be extended to somebody I'm working with and linked, or it could be linked to somebody I'm having healing with or doing healing with, and it could be somebody that I link into a group of 20. I did the trance thing last night, and there was about 40 people on it, And we can send all those links out and create all those links, and it ends up looking like a chainmail to me, with each individual inside their own circle, but we're all connected. So circles for me is a wonderful way to work forward. But also on the protective side of things, the protective, if you like, the protective practices, is you need to know what's what, and you need to have an understanding of what's what. And what I mean by that is, what are you looking to achieve? If you're going to open yourself up spiritually, are you just doing that, inviting anybody in or anything in? Or are you specifically looking for a certain guide or helper or ancestor in that way? So you need to know what you're doing before you ground, before you protect, before you open up to the spirit world. You also have to understand that even with limited experience, perhaps, that you are the boss, you are the governor, you're the one completely in control. And that's not confrontational in any way, because your guide will actually want to understand the barriers of which you work. But it is essential. When I started working spiritually, particularly when White Hawk came in, I had to understand how to connect to him in his way, in trance, and that I was coming out of it safely. And the whole process, I was being looked after and safe. If I'm going to close my eyes and go back to a condition of consciousness where I don't make the decisions and he's coming through and working through me with my hands or speech or whatever it is, there has to be an agreement there. There has to be a conversation with my guide where we understand exactly what's what, where we understand the limitations of which I work. With White Hawk, I have two points on the contract I have with him. Just two. Nice and easy, nice and simple. First of all, is that he looks after me safely, and that he always makes sure I come back in good time, in good condition, spiritually, mentally, and physically. He always looks after me. Point number one. Point number two, whenever we work, we only ever work to the very best of our abilities, and nothing else is acceptable. And now the 2 points that I work with. So it's important that you set out your intentions. It's important that you know what your intentions are, because the big thing about intention is intention doesn't care what you say. Intention doesn't care what you do. You will never hide your intention, and your intention will always come out with transparency, and people will always see the intention that you have. Might not be immediate, but it will always come out. Why are you doing this? What's the purpose? Is it just that you fancy it? Is it that you've seen other people do it, therefore your ego is wanting you to connect, is wanting you to do this? Or are you drawn to it? Do you have that understanding? Do you have no understanding, but you know that you're drawn to it? You know you want to learn more. This is two different concepts completely. So you need to understand exactly why you're doing what it is that you're requesting to do, and to define your intention to yourself, because that's important, because you're the one that's taking this forward, and that you do that before you try and make contact with a spirit guide. If you have any specific intentions, understand what they are. Know what they are. Because if you have a specific intention and you're opening yourself up to your team of guides, you will open yourself up to the spiritual guide that has the answer and the influence to help you with your specific intention. So again, it's about knowing what you're doing, preparing for that session. It's like going into a meeting. You don't go into a meeting unprepared and just sit there and say, I don't know what I'm doing here. You're going into a meeting with your spirit guide. So use the time wisely, because the energy they bring is incredible. So use it wisely, know what you're doing. When you have those intentions, you can then begin to avoid negative influences. You can begin to avoid all of that, because you have a set purpose. You know why you're opening yourself up. You know what you're requesting, and then you'll know how to close that session as well. In between all of that is actually your spirit guide coming in and connecting with you. So like I said at the start, you don't have to be a medium to connect to spirit guides. You can literally send your thoughts out using telepathy. Just send your thoughts out to your spirit guides that you need help with this. You need help with psychic protection. You need help with healing. You need help with mental stress, with anxiety. You need help with a meeting that you've got tomorrow and you're struggling to get yourself mentally aligned with the energy of that meeting. You have situations in your family life where things are proving difficult and you have an opportunity to step up and step forward to request the help of the guides to help you, because they will. Now, if you're not developed with mediumship, it might not be that the guides are going to come back to you and show you clairvoyance, what's happening, show you who the guide is, show you how to move forward. It may not be that you receive a couple of voices in your ears telling you that everything is okay, we've got your back, clairaudience, and that, everything will be okay. This is how I would do that. This is how I would do that. It might be that you don't get that. It might be that you don't get any of your senses worked the same way that a medium will understand and be able to process. However, if you request help from your guides, I promise you, the guides will respond. The universe will respond. And this is where you just need to be alert to the subtle signs that are shown, the subtle signs that come your way. Acknowledgement. People often see white feathers. White feathers is understood to be acknowledgement from the spirit world, from ancestors, that you're being watched, protected, connected. It could be that you're driving down the road and certain things are happening, and all of a sudden those certain things that are happening are then creating certain thought patterns within your head. Those thought patterns then give you an answer to a question that you had 2 days ago. This is how the universe will respond. And it happens time and time and time again. So be open to it. Be open to suggestion. And allow your mind to work freely when you're connecting with a guide. And allow your senses to be sensitive. That's why they're there. So allow them to develop. And you will soon find that with practice, you will find that you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognitive, whatever it is. That takes a little bit of time to develop. And the discipline takes time to understand. But the moment you ask a spirit guide for help, and the moment you begin to see the signs, you know that it's there. One of the best forms of spirit communication, I guess it's a cheeky little thing. Louise and I call them the parking angels. Whenever we go to a shopping mall or a shopping centre, or if we're going to a train station or something, we ask for a parking space that's conveniently placed when we get there. And again, this is something that's quite common, it's quite regular. There's going to be a number of people on here that already use the parking angels. And it's just a little thing that you turn up, you can't see any parking spaces, and all of a sudden in front of you, somebody will pull out. Happens all the time. It's a fantastic little phenomenon. But when we're going into guides and connecting to guides, you will find that just as Andy and I'm different to Andy. We do the same thing, but I'm different. Andy's different to me. He does the same thing as me, but he's different. And you get to know that Andy and I are different people. We have different ways of working, different ways of explaining things, but we do the same thing. When it comes to your guides will have their own way of connecting to you. So each guide will be energy. Each guide will be their own unique energy. And because their unique energy will start blending with your unique energy. Therefore, there will be an energetic reaction. Now, we call this the handshake. We call this the spiritual handshake. The way this works is that if you met me in real life, one of the first things we're going to do when we meet each other is say hello, shake hands. That's my handshake. If I shake your hands 100 times, you're going to get to know my handshake. You're going to get to know my handshake to a point where Jonno will shake your hand and someone else will shake your hand, and you'll know who's me and you'll know who isn't me. And that's the point of the handshake of the guide, is that when they come in and connect to you, they connect to you on a completely unique basis. Your senses will be open. You could feel pins and needles. You could feel heat or different temperature changes. You could feel that there's, we call them psychic nits. Louise and I call them psychic nits. But when you get that itchy feeling on your scalp and your hair, that is very common around the crown chakra. It could be that you get like a feather under the nose tickling. It could be that you get a feeling of a spider's web on the side of the face. It could be that you get a breeze around your knees. All these things confirm that energy is now working with energy. And when you get a guide coming in, they will have the same handshake. So now you can start to define which guide is coming in, which guide is giving you certain feelings, which guide is giving you certain confirmation of their communication with you. And then you can start to work forward, building the trust, building the rapport. It's got to be said, any energy coming into yours needs to be trusted. This is where your psychic protection comes in. This is where your own discernment comes in, and also your own boundaries. So to develop a relationship with a guide is easy to do. Nothing here has to be complicated. But you have to, in my opinion, you have to work out who they are, what they're about. And that can take a little bit of time with your communication levels. However, once you start getting yes or no's, you can then get communication. So you will have a certain feeling. If I have a connection coming in and I have that connection, I can ask that guide, that energy, make me feel a certain way for yes. And it might be, for example, that I want to work as a pendulum. So I stand free will without any influence and going backwards or forwards. And I say, give me a sign for yes. And for yes, you have a feeling of moving forwards. And then for no, you have a feeling of moving backwards. Now you have yes or no. You can now interview the guide. You can now communicate with the guide. You can now move on and talk to the guide, request help, etc., etc. But one of the very first things that we would suggest is that you use the call of three. There is a universal law that the guides can give any information on the question 1 and 2, but question 3 is always the truth. And we do go into this more when we do our psychic protection courses, but this is just a very brief explanation. So once you get that communication coming and you feel that communication and you know that you can get a yes, you can get a no, you would then say to the guide, to the entity, are you from the light, yes or no? And you can now get a yes or a no. If you get a no, you dispel that guide immediately, pick up your protection and cleanse your space. You then call in your gatekeeper to cleanse the space and make sure that that entity is gone from your etheric fields. And you then try again. When you get that energy coming in and you get, are you from the light, yes or no? And you oh, yes. Are you from the light, yes or no? Yes. Are you from the light, yes or no? Yes. You now have a way of understanding that you can, I'm not going to say put your trust in the guide, but you are now on the way to establishing a relationship with that guide. And through time and experience with that guide, you will then establish your trust. You've got to be careful. You have to understand the yeses. You have to understand the no's. You have to understand the way of working when you start to connect with spirit guides. This is why it's always advisable that you sit in a circle with experienced mediums who are experienced at teaching and understand all of this. It's much more easier, and you will get more from just doing it on your own. You will learn better. So you can do it on your own. However, understand what you're doing. Understand the risks, and the risks are not common. Not if you do it properly. If you do it properly, the risks are very, very uncommon. But because you're dealing with energy and intelligence, sooner or later there might be a little thing coming in, and that is where it's advisable to sit with people that know what it is they're doing. So once you establish that connection, once you establish their handshake, once you establish that they are from the light, and you do that every single time on when you connect to them, you can then begin to build your rapport. You can then begin to understand the influences that guide has on you. The influences that you see when you go for a walk, when you go to work, when you walk your dog. The influences that you see when you're about to have a difficult conversation with somebody and a new viewpoint comes in. A new viewpoint that has just made that conversation so much easier. These are how your guides work. The simple, subtle cues and communication coming through. So when you are doing this, it's important that you have discernment. It's important that you have boundaries. And it's important that you work with positive affirmations, positive information coming through, making sure that the guides are helpful and aligned for your highest good in moving forward. So learn how to set your spiritual boundaries. And once they're set, stick to them. And understand perhaps that you might get tested. But this is where your strength of character comes through, and it will help you moving forward. Tools for connection. Sometimes people use tarot cards. Sometimes people use oracle cards. I think there's one of the messages on here about a pendulum. Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of different tools that people can use for spiritual connection, or you can just simply sit and just expand your energy and connect to your spirit guides and feel the difference in your energy. Whichever way you do it, there's no harm. Ouija boards, there's nothing wrong with Ouija boards. The only thing that's wrong with Ouija boards is the people that do them. Ouija board is nothing more than a communication tool. And when you have somebody that knows what they're doing and understands the universe, that Ouija board is nothing other than a communication tool to be used for the highest good. So know what it is you're doing. Understand what it is you're doing when you open up the tarot cards, when you open up the pendulum, when you open up the Ouija board, when you open up your own energy to the spiritual world. Understand what it is you're doing and make sure that you are aligned with your highest good, especially if you expect your guide to be aligned to your highest good. Two big things there. If you do that, it shouldn't be a fearful process. You will soon see that your confidence will grow. And when your confidence grows, your trust will also begin to grow. When your confidence is there, when your trust is there, you will begin to understand the communication and the feelings of working with your guides. And that can then make a massive, massive life impact on you. Whether you do it just for your own self-purpose, or whether you do it because you wish to work holistically, or whether you wish to do it because you really have that draw to come in and work and help people and be of service. None of that is fearful. But understand what you're doing, and that will help you to take away the fear. Going back to the circle again with people that know how to teach. As soon as you start doing this, you have a choice. You can do this once and then leave it, or you can develop it. And if you develop it, it will take regular communication. It will take dedication. And it will take investment, whether it be monetary or whether it be time. But you do have to invest into your own spiritual enhancement for the guides to come and work with you. And the more you take it seriously with a light, lovely energy, the more they will work with you in that sense as well. So this conversation is just a very brief one about guides, how they work, and how to connect. These are just the very, very basics, and I'm sure you can understand that this was just a 40-minute conversation. If you go to Circle and develop for a number of years, that's how you learn. That's how you really learn and bring that in. And then hopefully one day your guides will be of service to you, and you will be of service to your friends, to your family, to humanity. Already I'm sure that there's people out here that are very sensitive, very, very spiritual, even though they may never have stepped into a spiritual church or studied in a spiritual circle. But they're spiritual because they're nurses. They're spiritual because they're doctors. They want to help people. They're spiritual because they're the person whose friends always phone up. Can I talk to you? Can I come and just share some stuff with you? I need to get a few things off my chest. Helping people is being spiritual. Helping people is one of the most fantastic things in life you can do. And the universe always repays. So maintain your own spiritual protection. Look after yourselves, because if you don't do that, you can't help others, right? So number one, it's not selfish. It's about being able to help others. And you can't do that if your battery has run out of charge. So always make sure you're fully charged, protected, working forwards with good intentions. And that is how the universe will respond to you and repay you as well. This has just been a little chat, as I say. I'm just going to quickly go through the questions and see. Wow. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Luminous. Lovely name. I know that it's luminous therapy. But yeah, I recently did a meditation on here where you asked for a sign of the connection. I asked for a small lottery win. 2 days later, I got £5. Absolutely fantastic. I love that. I think that's fantastic. Claire has asked Andrew compass pendulum questions. Yeah, absolutely. You can ask the pendulum questions. Like I say, when it comes to the protection, there's lots more things you can do. And certainly on the courses that Andy and I run, we go into it in a lot more detail. But this is just a brief example of guides. The fact that everybody can do this, can communicate with guides. Lots of conversations we have on here about the negative stuff. That's because it's our work. We clear negative energy. But there's a very beautiful, very powerful side to our work as well. And that also needs to be acknowledged. And there's people on here right now that are the next mediums coming through that have a white hawk, that have a Chen. They're the next mediums coming through to help people understand different life challenges and how to help them do that. For anybody that is drawn to working with myself and Andy and the Academy, we have our course coming up very, very soon now. Very, very soon. 14th of October it starts. That's in Ithaca. In fact, what I will do, I will just pop the link on there as well, because we still have a couple of places. If you can see yourself fit in that seat, then you're going to be very welcome. Come and apply. We do have to get a bit of a wriggle on, but we can certainly do it. But also, if you are interested in the grounding, the opening up, how to close, how to look after your spiritual hygiene. I also do a 21 days with White Hawk. Those 21 days with White Hawk are there to help you understand the necessity towards having a habit where you don't have to think about spiritual protection and looking after your energy, where it becomes a habit exactly the same as brushing your teeth. And that is the 21 days of White Hawk. You get quotes, you get reminders, you get little tips about spiritual hygiene, one a day for 21 days. And then we have a Q&A session with myself where we have a chat, a live chat, and you're there to ask me anything, and I will do everything I possibly can to answer you honestly. Now, for those that are talking about psychic protection and gatekeepers, I have my next gatekeeper in a couple of days, in fact, on the 26th. The time, 9:30 in the morning. It's an early one. 9:30 in the morning, UK. And that is because I do get requests from people on the eastern side of the UK, the southern hemisphere. Can I do a morning one? So people can come and join, because the ones that we do in the evening are just too late for them. So yes, absolutely, we can do that. 26th, 2 days time, and that is at 9:30 in the morning. I've posted a link to my workshop, and I'm going to thank Gabby because I think that she has also done that. And you can just go on there, see the gatekeeper, and if it's something you're drawn to, you can get yourself on that course. The 21 days with White Hawk, it always starts on the 1st of the month, but we always close the course a few days beforehand. So if you are interested in attending the 21 days, that is something that would need to be done now. Otherwise, anybody that joins a bit later will simply go into the following month, starting the 1st. So you're not going to miss your booking. You are going to have your time. But for those that want to come in on the 1st of October, now is the time to do that. So I'm going to thank you very much. I'm going to thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of this podcast. And I'm just making sure that I haven't missed anything, which I don't think I have. Lovely to see you all. Sarah, Leanne, Elizabeth, you're all there. Vicky, Magdalena, I see you all there. Thank you so much. Jennifer, I know that you've sent some wonderful messages in. Deanne, Claire, look, I can't go through and mention everybody, but I am seeing everyone and acknowledging everyone. And thank you so much for joining me. Andy is going to be live on Thursday, 4 p.m. UK, where he's going to be talking to Elise, who is one of our practitioners in the academy who has come through on the facilitation side. And that's going to be a very wonderful chat. Elise is lovely. So you'll enjoy that. Lots of love to you. Joanna, I've just seen you come in. Lots of love, Joanna. And I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.